We have to care about the agents.
Intention, consistency, authenticity.
All right, rock and roll. Matt, we're hot. Welcome back. We are here with Brandi Condon. Brandi is new to our team. You are still less than 90 days?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you are definitely new, but we hear a lot of great things about you, which is why we wanted you here. So obviously you don't have like tremendous stats because you're still, getting moving, which is fine. But you are kind of on everybody's radar because you are just in that group. You're kind of pulling a Bradley. So Bradley was like a shift buzzard, where you seem to be like maybe an appointment buzzard. You're just like picking up these appointments.
Yeah.
You're always in that group. So before we get down that road, just kind of give us a little backstory, who you are, where you're from, grew up, kind of how you got here, etc. Just like,
So I am a farm girl from Midwest Michigan. My dad was a butcher. My mom was a homemaker.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So after I graduated high school, I joined the Marine Corps. I wanted out.
I love that.
That experience was phenomenal. Taught me work ethic, taught me camaraderie.
Right.
I was in there for 8 years total, 4 active, 4
Okay.
inactive. Got out, started a family, and that's where I caught the social buzz. So I had been a bartender for 12 years before I decided to take the promotion and become a homemaker. You get addicted to getting to know people.
Right.
When you're in the service industry.
For sure.
Know their drinks, know their kids' names.
You build rapport with them without even knowing you're building rapport, strictly because you are providing them a service, and then at some point they become a regular, and then they just know you.
Especially as a daytime bartender in a sports bar, it's more about serving libations. It's about like creating an experience throughout your day that's meaningful.
Right.
Aside from like what beer is on special.
And then they get excited just to come see you, tell you what they've been up to, which might not be a whole lot if they're drinking in the middle of the day, but right, that's kind of the point. My brothers came from bartending, so I understand the rapport-ness of like knowing your regulars and shit like that. So
Yes.
yeah.
So after that, I became a homemaker about 6 years ago. Retired. Ended up working more than I had ever imagined. Super gratifying, but I lost that social aspect in my life. My husband's family are all realtors or, do real estate law.
Okay.
Things of that nature. And, I always told them that, perhaps this was something that I'd like to do too. That's not true. I think they more or less were like, I think you'd be good at this.
Right.
So
because of the personal because you're personable, you're like easy to talk to, you understand listening to people and kind of like servicing them as people come in, which I think is a huge issue that a lot of people don't realize when it comes to real estate, is the fact that it's a service industry position. It's literally like you are serving a customer. It's important that you listen to their needs and then cater to those, not just like, hey, this house is on the market. Hey, this is a really good deal. Like if you're giving somebody a 3-bedroom home and they need 4 or 5 bedrooms because maybe they're trying to expand their family, a lot of listening and then being like, okay, is this even feasible, right? Like,
and it's emotional, right?
Big time.
Buying a home is an emotional transaction.
Pull this thing right in front of you. I know Matt just kind of moved it.
Good.
Yeah, Matt just kind of moved it. Better or worse, Matt? Cool. Better? Worse? Yeah, right.
So buying a home is an emotional transaction.
Right.
And it's easy for me, even though I'm new in the industry, to really fall in love with these families.
Yeah.
And think like, this is your home, and then watch it slip away. But that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's not just an emotional transaction. It is still a transaction
It's still,
at the end of the day.
For sure.
It is
Exactly.
still business. But that's why I'm so far loving it. Because I can have those social interactions. I can establish rapport, get emotionally invested in these families. And then, the time will come where I get to give them their happy ending too.
Well, right. And we hear time and time again that it's almost like bittersweet when you do finish the transaction because you've gotten to know these people so well and you understand like their family dynamic because you were literally trying to find them this little sliver of something that they need that's going to affect them literally every day.
Yes, absolutely.
Every single day.
They're just going to be on my Christmas card list.
Which is great. So that's kind of our model, and that's not a lot of people don't really understand that, is that so you just came into real estate. You might have a good sphere of influence, right? You might have just like a good sphere of people you're plugged into your children's school community, sure, whatever it might be. For the most part, not all of those people are looking for a home. The people, leads, things we're providing you are all people who've raised their hands about real estate. So now you're going to become vested in these people, meet them, understand what they need, nurture them, even become friends with them. Then down the road, be like, okay, what's their timeline on buying, selling, whatever it is? Now you already know, hey, they know me as the realtor, not like, hey, they know me as, whatever your kids' names are, Scott, Brandi Jr.,
sure,
So like that's how a lot of people will connect with people. Now they know you as Brandi, their realtor that did a great job, etc. So when you add them to your Christmas list, again, you are the realtor. You're not just so-and-so's mom or whoever.
My kids' name are Bruno and Brutus, by the way. I'm just kidding.
No,
but I have an example of that already.
Right.
So I had one buyer. It didn't work out. Doesn't matter why. But my buyer ended up with COVID. And so I had his address, and I just left something on the stoop. It was stupid. It was a can of chicken noodle soup, like
that's
name brand
awesome.
Can with a bow on it. But that resonated, and I got a phone call from his wife that day, and she's like, "I can't wait to work with you again." Like just stuff like that.
Yeah,
it takes 5 minutes,
right,
to make somebody understand that they matter.
Yes. Which is huge, and a lot of people don't listen enough to even understand that sometimes that's what someone might need. So like, right, their cousin might be realtor. They're connected to 10 different realtors, but everybody's just telling them what they think they want to know when you're just sitting there listening and just being an ear.
And I'm sure that there are transactions that occur that go from A to B in a direct line.
Yeah.
I'm sure that happens.
And sometimes it needs to happen.
Right, absolutely. Thus far, I have seen just a flood of homes being tossed at them, me throwing myself at them, honestly, in an abrasive manner at times. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's well received.
Right.
Sometimes it's not. But it's kind of just like a spider web of things that magic has to happen sometimes.
Right.
For some transactions, magic has to happen.
Right, exactly.
And making that customer at the end of the day feel like a real person, to me, so far has helped.
Yeah.
My call logs are high, but I feel that I get a lot of responses from those people because I'm real on the other end of the phone. I send video messages.
Right.
I send messages where I'm stubbing my toe throughout the dialogue and send it anyways because I am a real person.
Yeah.
I am not a computer.
Right.
And those people call back to see how my toe is.
Right.
It's happened.
That's incredible because
it's been awesome.
A lot of people don't connect that way or even connect those dots until it's down the line, right? They're just so hungry. They're like, I'm real estate. I want to do this. I want to do this. You're like, I am still Brandi. I still want to meet people, right? You're not changing who you are. You just happen to be really great at transferring that. And it's funny that we're sitting here on the set, multiple cameras rolling. As soon as cameras do come into the picture, i.e. your cell phone or whatever it is, people get super weird. And that's really cool that you can take yourself and immediately transfer that through the lens to the other side, because that's kind of a gift in itself.
My daughter would disagree. She would probably be embarrassed that I was even sitting in this seat.
No. But that's a really true gift, because not everybody can do it. They're stiff, right? Or they're like, oh, I just didn't like the way my face looked on that. You being able to be yourself on camera and then, sending it anyway. Just been I'm sending it off. I want them to know exactly how I am. I'm a real person. I want them to understand that I'm not just this robust block character of I'm a realtor, right? You're just I'm Brandi, I'm the realtor, right? It's just this warmer connection. And that's crazy because, again, we always talk about the difference in leads between a sphere of influence lead and cold internet lead. So for you to be able to turn cold internet lead, someone who literally you could be any person, and then now they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to call her back and find out how her toe is an art form in itself.
And I'm super interested to see, if I could create my own statistic board, right? My pie analysis of how many people were overwhelmed by my loud personality and were just annoyed. And then how many people were actually interested in starting that dialogue, because the concept of conversations to close at this point in my real estate career is just conversations to appointments right now. And to me, like, that means a ton to me. There's a lot of weight in that.
Right.
The fact that I can actually influence people to go look at a home, just that alone has been incredible. Right.
So now let's get into kind of like when you first came in the door and like training and leading up to it. So obviously coming from a, I guess, sales background, but service industry background, you had the people connection. Now you had to learn the business processes, how things happen. How was training right off the rip? Were you like overwhelmed, inundated, or because you have this background, you're like, I loved how structured it was?
So I specifically chose DJ and Lindsey for the structure, the what I felt was just a great atmosphere in the office when I first walked in. I had done a lot of homework. I had really done due diligence in picking which agency I wanted to go with. And some of the people that I interviewed with were like, they were great, but it takes more than a great relationship with your broker. You need a team for it to work. And I didn't know that for sure, but it has to.
Right. Now, knowing what you know now, you're like, it has to.
I needed the structure. Because as a mom, like, there are always going to be excuses for me to fly out of here.
For sure.
Always.
Right.
I wanted the accountability in the office. I have to be here. I should be doing this. So those were some of the aspects that really were attractive to me. Brittany obviously sold me from the moment I met her. There was that. And then we really have like our own in-office Tom Perry here, right? We have Brett Moreland, who is on fire on all the time. Like, he's just on all the time. I have yet to see him have a bad day. And if he has had them, then he's able to like turn it off as soon as he walks in. He's phenomenal. And then when I met Travis, I didn't realize the influence he was going to have on my day to day.
Crazy.
He is.
Travis is your data, your nuts and bolts guy. He knows. Yeah.
And he is always accessible.
Always.
It doesn't matter. If I call him, if it's not like, if I don't get a response within 5 minutes, it's always like, oh, I was sleeping or tucking in my grandma or like something super serious. And there's always like a response.
He's almost has like this AI quality of like, he's always around and always knows. I mean, he's always on his phone because he knows the value he gives to you guys, right? Like, he doesn't want to drop the ball on you, and then that snowballs down to like, oh, this is why this didn't happen, or Brandi wasn't able to do this is because I wasn't, I feel like, not that there's a source of anxiety there. I think he's just so in love with helping you guys that him being accessible is part of the joy he gives and gets from the job. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's gratifying just to see like him being gratified in his position.
Right.
And then where I sit in the office has been influential as well. I have Tanya right next to me, who is so personable. People just, how could you not fall in love with her?
Right. She's awesome.
I have Bradley kitty corner from me. I have, I mean.
Who's to the right? You have Samir, and then you have somebody, you're on the end, kind of like tucked over, but you're next to shift too. So you're next to the shift people. That's the
reason why I picked that desk as well, because I wanted to listen to the conversation.
That's awesome.
Marcus has been a resource for, I will listen to his conversations, and I've had to ask him, listen, what do I say in this circumstance? Because I need the words.
Right.
I need to be able to articulate in the way that you do to your customers.
Right.
Because it's just cool to watch that unfold. Right. The way he can articulate something and be like, bing, light bulb, and I'm not even on the other end of the phone.
Right.
Jamie was like a lifesaver to me the first transaction that I went through. He just has an influence about him that he just like embodies confidence.
Right.
And just exudes that on his customers.
Because I think at some point, and I'm sure you will get there too, at some point you're so invested, good at what you do, and confident in what you're saying to somebody that's how it comes off. So like, he's not trying to sell you a bill of goods, just like, I would probably say this and it might blow up in your face. It's like, that's kind of risky. I would do this, this, and this. That way, you're doing good by your customer, and you already know you can lay your head on the pillow at night knowing that like, hey, that wasn't like a risky call or anything like that. And I think he understands that. I mean, he came from owning his own business too, so he understands the value of being here, and getting customers to walk in the door is such a huge thing. He's like, I'm going to do everything I need to do in order to make sure that when the customer comes in the door, I can help them and service them to the highest level.
His conflict resolution
crazy
just is organic.
Yeah. because
always
small
has a
business
solution.
owner.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's like constantly always trying to figure out whatever the problem is and solve it. Because a lot of times people can't even identify the problem. They just want the solution.
Yeah.
And it goes back to like, teach a man to fish or give a man a fish kind of situation. So I think he is more of the, I want to learn how to fish so that I know how to take care of it versus like, yeah, that's great that you can reach out to Travis and he just be like, just do this, it's fine, right? And fix it for you.
For sure.
But want to know. And I think he translates that over when he's talking to you. I mean, I always have an absolute ball talking to him and always learn something based on just our interactions, right? Yeah. Sometimes we're not always even like talking specifically about something. I'm like, it's crazy how he just approached this situation where it wasn't even a misunderstanding. It was a miscommunication on like a story. He'll just like wait, walk me back to before. What did you just say? And then clarify where I'm like, I would almost never do that because I'd feel like so embarrassed maybe that like I didn't hear what the person said. I'm just moving along with the conversation. And he's just like, no, like clear it up right there because then you go down the road. You have no clue what his name is. You don't know what he wanted. You're like, just go right for it. People are like, will applaud you and will appreciate it later than they do if you just like moved on past and you're like, oh,
your name is 904-613.
Right. You're like, that's so great. 904, right? So it's like, that's where I pick that up from Jamie all the time because I'm a huge face guy, terrible with names.
And I mean, even just in saying those names and the people that sit around me and that what I've taken away from them is like massively dropping the ball on everybody else on the office that I don't have a relationship with yet because everybody has their thing.
Because you're also sitting your clique, right? So you're not just going to like pick up, move all your stuff and just go sit by random people and then be like, I'm going to learn about them. But like you'll bump into them on shift. You'll bump into them in the break room having lunch or whatever. So you'll get there. It's just right. It's a matter of like surround yourself with people who you will learn from. And then also you're not going to be like, that person will not stop.
I honestly was just dealt a really good hand.
Well, that too. And sometimes that just happens, right? Sometimes that really just happens. So you came in, so you love the structure. Do you think that's knowing yourself, or do you think that's kind of the Marines where like you kind of were like it drilled into you that like you need accountability, you need structure, you need this, or else it's just fly by night situation?
Yeah, I think like all of that, the work ethic, the code of conduct stuff was just, it's kind of like chirps in the back of my mind like a smoke alarm without a battery.
Right.
But it really was my husband because he is in multifamily. He was like, I think that you need this.
Yeah.
And he really did a lot of due diligence for me too. He was like looking up podcasts with DJ Lindsey. He's like, check these people out. And he's like, I could fish or golf with this guy.
Yeah.
So I really think I was kind of used on that.
Wow. But used pretty well because I mean you're doing really well and it's not like he steered you wrong. I mean, right?
No, he was absolutely right.
And you were like, I need these things, and you're like, I'm going to get them there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually, it's funny, we just, a podcast will actually drop tomorrow. I don't want to date ourselves, but it'll drop this week we did a list of 100 things this brokerage has to offer that we do differently from anywhere else. So we dropped it in Dallas. Everybody loved it when we were at the Tom Ferry Summit. Yeah. Everybody absolutely loved it. So, I mean, the goal was obviously to bring it here, but we piloted it there to like not people were in the same market who were like, wow, this is incredible. Because we're weird, right? We're like, you shopped around, you saw, you're like, wow, these people do all these things that nobody else does. And I think real estate, it's just so crazy that you recognize that because real estate is I want to get into real estate to be my own boss, do my own thing, make my own schedule, where you immediately were like, I want to get into real estate because I have no ceiling on what I'm going to make, but at the same time, I know that I need to have office time. I need to have daily structure. I need to have an orientation. I need to be able to continue my education or sit around or be around people that will make me better at what I'm doing. Yes. Where a lot of people get into real estate for the complete opposite reason. Isn't that just...
And maybe that's helped my experience is that I didn't get into real estate in order to close.
Right.
Does that make sense?
For sure.
Because that will take time. That will come.
Right.
But that's not, like, I wasn't hungry for the income getting into real estate.
Right.
In my opinion, like, so far as I've seen, real estate isn't just, like, a growing organic thing. Like, it shape-shifts.
Big time. Big time.
So I just wanted to be able to lay down a structure of tools and, like, build my toolkit before I can say, like, where's the dough?
Yeah, that's huge because a lot of people, I mean, obviously with COVID, we had this gold rush. People were just like, abandoning their careers to just get into real estate because it was so easy to transact, which we saw obviously a great deal of, but at the same time, we're one of the last kind of people standing that are still moving along, right? Like, I don't really think we've seen a huge, I don't even want to say dip or even just like differentiation in like the market shift. Like, we're still transacting at such a high level, right? You guys are still learning, still plugging along, leads are still coming in.
Yeah.
So we haven't really seen that, where when we just went to this summit, we see all these other people talking about how to generate leads, doing open houses, you know, doing things that they can increase their CRM, database, whatever, where we don't have that problem, right? We immediately, you signed up here, you did your stuff, we loaded your CRM with stuff,
ground running.
and it's just move on. But I love the fact that you're like, okay, that's great. Like, if the transactions happen like right off the rip, awesome. But I want to build a toolkit so that I know in 60, 90 days, I'll be so much better at my job than I was when I started here.
Yes.
And the transactions will happen, right? That's just, we're connecting you with the people who need you, but that's your long-term game. You know, that's your goal.
Oh, my pipeline to be like an anaconda.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I want it fat.
Yeah. Or are you kind of getting there? So obviously we flooded it, you know, right when you started, but how is it kind of transpired? So like, obviously, let's talk your stats right now. It's one closed and pending or one closed?
No, that one, something happened with that one.
Love it.
But I'm writing up 3 offers today.
Yes.
So we've got that going on. I love that my pipeline, the ones that I've really pulled out and focused on, I can pull out their name from Boomtown, and without looking at anything, know exactly what we're going to talk about when I call them.
That's awesome.
And, you know, that to me is like building a fat pipeline.
Right.
Because even if for some reason they don't buy, we don't close,
right,
I have a relationship with them, and if my name got tossed around anywhere,
hands down,
I mean, that can't hurt anybody.
That's huge, and I think that's the big understanding that everybody inside the 4 walls have. That is the biggest misunderstanding outside these 4 walls, is just that, is that we have our team leads aspect, but then we also have you building your personal business. So your personal business now sits at an 80% split,
yes,
which is huge. So yeah, you met Tom and Sally from us, but just like you said, if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, they might refer you, and then that comes back to you as an 80% split. After that's a 90% split.
Yes.
With all the same systems, all the same, like, you still use your transaction coordinator, you still use all the same marketing.
Yes, we have resources here. That was another big appeal
for
this office. The resources are undeniable.
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy that anybody, so we say 90%, it's more like 120% split based on like what you kind of get from it. But I mean, you see some of these other agents. So like, let's talk back some of these other agents real quick, touch on, you look up to like Jamie, you look up to Marcus. What are some other like kind of big players that you're like, man, I really like watching, you know, what they do or how they do it?
So I guess right now it's just anybody who is on shift. Right?
I love that.
Because everybody has different characteristics that they utilize, that they tap into. They have their tools that they know work or are sharpened. Mm-hmm. And so just listening to people on shift talk, like, I mean, we have some agents in office they're freaking funny.
Yeah.
And they pull these cards out, and I'll be sitting there, and I'll be like dying, trying to like leave a message on somebody's phone. And I'll have to apologize, like, I'm sorry, you don't know what I just heard. There was one instance I heard, and it was Bradley. Somebody answered, and they said, "No, you must have the wrong number. This is Bob from so and so car dealership." And Bradley goes, "But I'm Bob from so and so car dealership, and I'm looking at you right now." And he generated a conversation from that.
Right.
Like. You can't make that up.
Right, exactly. Which is crazy because, again, it could have been a miscommunication, but now keeping that person on the phone, probably sharpening his conversation skills. So if there's something weird does happen in the middle of a serious conversation, he might just be sharper in thinking. But secondly, I mean, who knows if he could have built rapport with that guy. It's just practice, right? It's like, you weren't here when we did the best in biz.
No.
Yeah. So that was the goal of that, right? That was literally just to hear your pitch, cold pitch right off the bat. We just pitched you like it was a wheel of things. It was like, hey, tell us, hey, I'm waiting for the market to cool off to buy, right? And that was your pitch. So then you'd roll into that. Not only would we hear your pitch, but when somebody else went in like 3 days, 2 days later, you'd hear how they handle it. You're like, damn, that was sharp.
Yes.
Right? So like that's kind of what you're doing overhear is by listening to just this, whether it's sometimes it just be just insanity happening or real conversations happening that you can start pulling things out of. It's just, I don't know, that's fascinating to me that you inherently thought of that because you already almost saw it as a problem that you're like,
well,
I need to hear more.
You know, I'm just not experienced yet. And the most efficient way to gain experience is to watch others and take some of those tools from them.
Right.
And of course, you know, perspective has a lot to do with it. Like you have to overcome like rejection on the phone, right?
Right.
If you're having a bad day, you spilled coffee and they're just hanging up on you.
That's just
like
going to compound.
Call
yeah.
after call. Like listening to some of those conversations over on shift just kind of pulls you out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And helps me refocus on, okay, there is a real person on the other end of this phone.
Right.
And I need them to know that I'm a real person as well. And just kind of go from there.
That's a really cool perspective, I think, is to understand that, like, hey, the real person over there, whatever condition they might be in, I need to make sure that I'm not bringing whatever this energy is over the phone because it could either change their energy or just completely ruin this conversation.
Yes. What was really cool already this morning while I was prospecting was I called a lead and he answered. And I had so many leads not answer already that I kind of was already in that mindset, like getting ready. What am I going to say on this voicemail? How am I going to be witty or charming?
Right.
And he answered.
And threw you off.
It did. And so I just kind of stuttered. And his response to me stuttering over my own name was, listen, miss, I have hummus all over my hands. You have 3 seconds to tell me why this call is important. And I was like, holy shit, is this a test?
Yeah.
So like I just kind of pitched him real quick and he was like, okay, I'll just call you back. And I was like, yes, that's a win for me.
Yeah, right? That's pretty wild.
Like the fact that I'm so interested to find out who this guy is. Give me 3 seconds.
Yeah, I have hummus all over my hand. You have 3 seconds to tell me why this is important. That's pretty good. Honestly, not a bad test. I'm shocked if it wasn't Brett or Brittany or somebody over there.
I hope it wasn't because I need to know who this man is.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. That sounds honestly like something Bradley would say if he picked up the phone.
Right, hummus hands.
Yeah, I've hummus all of my. Listen, miss, I've hummus. That's hysterical.
I'm covered.
Yeah, I'm covered in hummus. You better figure it out.
Let's make this important real quick.
Right, exactly. All right, so moving down the funnel, let's say we're inside 90 days. Do you know exactly how many days?
I think it's like 35.14.
Oh, that's it? Okay, cool. So at least roughly. Have you set a goal for the year? Homes, volume, how does that work?
So that's a weighted question for me because I think I have this incredible experience of becoming a new realtor in 2022.
Right.
Right. So to put a number on that,
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't feel comfortable doing.
Right.
I want to make the buyers happy.
Right.
And I want to build rapport. And if by the end of the year my number is still 0, then I'm going to circle back and figure out what I did wrong.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
But so when I first was asked that question, like during my orientation period, I said 50.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like going for it.
Right.
And I had Googled how many homes does a really great agent close on a year.
Right.
And the number was 50. And now I'm looking at it like, holy shit, that is an awesome number.
Yeah, it's a great benchmark.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it is. And I actually liked the fact that you're like, I don't want to put a number on it. Like my goal is to just like kind of get my wheels moving, get my business up and running. It's just like a benchmark, right? So
yes.
like you have somebody like Bradley, I think he wanted to sell 50 homes.
He's done that.
But that's my point. It's like, okay, you might shatter it or you might, come shy of it. It's just like okay, before we get to the end of the year, hey, let's look at some things that might be happening here, right? What are we doing wrong? Because we don't want you to go a full year without income. Is
right. No,
crazy,
I don't want that. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
But I think that focusing on the number would probably change my dialogue a little bit.
For sure. But at least you'll kind of have an idea of like, okay, because I mean, it's real estate, right? You could literally you're here 35 days, 0 closed and pending, but you're about to write 3 offers now. You could literally go from 0 to 3.
Oh, I absolutely could.
Right? You could go from 0 to 12 in 2 weeks.
I just don't want the tone of my voice to ever change from hungry to starving.
Right, for sure.
Because that's not an attractive quality.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, you also don't want to just be like so.
Nah.
Well, so just like so chill.
Yeah,
because then you come off as the Brandi the realtor who sells a home if she feels up to it, which is you're always hungry.
I don't want
like
that either.
Right.
And
so
nobody wants to work pro bono in real estate.
For sure. Especially, I mean, and lawyers either. And we go back to, any type of advice is what you pay for it. So if you're not paying for it, it's basically you're going to get out what you pay for it, right? So I think that's a huge thing. So we have no 50 homes. We'll call it 50 homes is our goal, right?
Sure. Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
which is a great respectable benchmark. It's a shoot for the stars, but being here 35 days, I think you're right on track, especially if you're about to write 3 offers and you're already in this mindset of like, okay, how can I fatten up my pipeline versus elongate my pipeline?
Correct.
Right? A lot of people are in this elongated pipeline situation where it's like that plays a role in it too, but for the most part, like can't be that long because if it gets that long, then it's like, what are you planning on selling people homes in 3 years from now? Right. It's like these people need. What
happens is, those people end up calling somebody else by the time they get serious.
Right. Exactly. So it's a very much contact sport of fattening the pipeline, but not making it so long so that you're like, all right, I'll talk to you next school year.
Right.
Right. And let's
want that pipeline girthy.
Right. Exactly. So, anything else kind of personal that you're like stoked on? Like, are you going on vacation? Your kids obviously are just restarted school.
Yeah.
A bunch of new schools popping up. Are they in a new school or are they in a school that's been around?
So we are in St. Johns County.
Cool.
So my daughter is a high schooler at Nice. She's a sophomore. I have a son that goes to Valley Ridge. There.
You're right down the road from me. I'm in Beach Walk, so you're like right down the road from me.
I'm Greenleaf Lakes.
Oh, okay. So we're right down the road. You went. You
have an adult shower in there. Is that true?
In
Beach Walk?
Beach Walk? I don't think so.
I've heard that place is awesome.
Well, Beach Walk is sweet. I mean, we have the 14-acre lagoon,
yes.
And there's stand-up paddle boards, kayaks, whatever you want. There's a swim-up bar. It's incredible. We're probably going to do a video on the amenities soon,
nice.
Because the commercial space up front. But that high school just opened.
Yes.
So there's like a ton of, new faces that you see around, which is kind of cool because for the most part, it was like a wide open construction site.
Yes.
But now it is kind of feeling like
grumpies.
this. Right. It's just feeling like this family community space now, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
But I didn't know if they were in one of these new schools that popped up because Tokoi Creek also just popped up too.
Actually, my younger two, there's a new Goddard school that was built in Bay Meadows. So we switched them over from Julington Creek to Bay Meadows.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's an awesome school.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. So we're right around the corner. So yeah, if you ever want to check out the Lagoon, just got to let me know. I literally, it's incredible. They actually just had somebody had a Navy fundraiser there. There was like 200 people from the squadron there.
I saw that online. That's super cool.
It was crazy. So, yeah, I'm sure, we'll get you over there, or maybe the Marines will bring you through there at some point.
Maybe.
If you ever, yeah, just maybe. Well, we're excited to see you obviously grow. I mean, like I said, the reason why you're here is because we've heard so many great things about you, how you're giving this hunger, but it's not, you don't feel hungry, but that's what everybody's like, Brandi's hungry. I'm like, maybe she is, but you're saying it's like,
I'm loving it.
Well, it's not a hungry situation where it's like, I'm really hungry, I want to close this deal. It's like, I'm hungry to be better and like kind of build this business hungry, not like I'm hungry and I need to close this house yesterday.
Yeah.
So, which is awesome. So yeah, I mean, that's great. Fall time. We just sent you to Jags game, which was awesome.
That was awesome. I took my 4-year-old. He's going to be 5 in September.
Yeah.
We had a blast.
Yeah.
The security guard that was there so that we could get up to our seats knew us by name because we were like, we'd go up to the seats and we watched like 10 minutes of the game. And then we'd go down and get a hot dog. And then we'd go up to our seats. So he'd be like, how long are you guys going to make it this time? It was just such a cool experience. Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. As partners, we always, and I have a good connection there. We're always giving out tickets and doing stuff, which is super cool. So I'm glad that we were happy to send you guys over there.
I also, I took my 11-year-old son to the Mayport Military Mud Run.
Ooh. Oh yeah, I did.
And I asked Brittany for a DJ Lindsey shirt.
Yes.
For it. So like I sported us there.
Yeah, absolutely. I did see that. I saw that. Yeah, we got some. We're doing that. Is if you compete in a race or participate, we're paying your bib fee and we're giving you a shirt to run in. Yeah. So
and I will probably abuse that system.
Hey, do it.
Just
do it. But that's the point is, right? We want to reward you guys going out, being active, doing cool stuff, kind of getting your fingers in the community, because right, we do have a lot of transplants. Jacksonville is a huge kind of growing city.
Yeah.
People coming, especially with COVID, moving from all over the place, and getting to real estate. We want to be able to reward you guys when you're proactive about it. But we're not going to be like, hey, you have to go do this mud run. Like, if you want to do it, awesome. We'll support you. T-shirt, pay your bid fee, whatever it is.
My cuticles are still pissed.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you for coming on. We absolutely love you. We're excited to see you grow here. And yeah, I mean, we literally kind of like talked about this for at least 2 weeks pre-Dallas of like who was going to come on. Do we want to bring Brandi on? We try and usually highlight somebody when they're hitting like a hot streak, but honestly, we're in this consensus of like your hot streak is kind of right now. Like you kind of hit the ground running, and it's really cool that you didn't immediately fall into like 7 deals. Like Bradley, when he started, because he speaks Spanish, just like immediately fell into like all these deals of like he could handle them because he spoke Spanish. So he was super sandbox when it came to that, but you are exuding the same qualities that he has, you know, just early on, which is just exciting to see. It's really exciting to watch.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So anyway, this podcast is sponsored by Audible. Audible is a great way for you to listen to books instead of reading them because you're on showings, you're driving around town, you're helping your customers. So you can go grab some affiliate code. I don't know, Matt has it. It's audible.com/DJ and Lindsey. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and yeah, I don't know. Brandi, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. All right. See ya. Easy.